Hey everybody, this is Tony DeMakis from Alliance Specialties and Laser Sales and the Manufacturing Alliance podcast. And this is my friend.
I'm Justine Ewald from TMA.
And we have an exciting new video series for you. It's all about manufacturing and what takes place in Illinois.
We are going to meet the people that run these companies. We are going to get on the shop floor and we are going to see what it takes to work for manufacturing.
Manufacturing is a thing in Illinois that more and more people are trying to get involved in. And so we're gonna find out the who, the what, the why, and we're gonna get put to the test and see if we can actually do the jobs that the people inside are doing. Where are we today?
We are in Prairie Grove, Illinois at Alliance Laser Sales and the Laser Development Center. And I'm a little scared. We got some activities today and we're gonna be put to the test like Tony said.
Let's do it. I can't wait to see what they're gonna have us do today.
I hope I beat you. That's my only goal.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Manufacturing Alliance podcast. As always, I'm your host, Tony DeMakis with Alliance Specialties and Laser Sales, where we are mold makers that don't build molds. It sounds dumb every time I say it, but hopefully by now you guys get it. We do all the things that you, the mold maker, don't have the time to do, don't have the resources to do, don't have the people to do. We want to come alongside you and work together in order to create a partnership where you get the things done that you need to have done, and we get to just simply help you out with that. And so what does that look like? It means that we do the polishing, the laser welding, the laser engraving, hot runner manifold repair, preventative mold maintenance, all of that under one roof so you don't have to worry about how it's being taken care of. We also have a laser development center in Prairie Grove, Illinois, where our studio is, where we do just that. We develop new laser welding and laser engraving technologies. We have the only American-made laser welding and laser engraving system made for mold repair and for production welding. So if you're looking for any of those things, let us help you out. Let us be a partner of yours. We're so glad that you're here. That little promo that you saw, man, the actual show is going to be coming out this week or next week, the first episode. The next one will be coming up the month after that, and then so on and so on. It is called Make Manufacturing Fun Again, where Justine Ewald from the TMA and I will be going to different manufacturing facilities, talking about why it's important, what it looks like, how you get involved. And then we get put to the test to see who is the better employee. I'm not going to tell you how it's gone so far, but I can tell you it's ridiculous and fun, and yeah, it's really, really informative, and it's going to be great. I'm looking forward to seeing how those continue to progress. If you like the show, if you are a fan of the show, if you've been here before, please like and subscribe wherever that is, whether that's YouTube or Facebook, or we're going to be posting on Rumble pretty soon, LinkedIn, whatever that looks like. Subscribe, like, get the notifications, let people know what this is about, right? This show is for people that are in the manufacturing space or want to be in the manufacturing space, so we can tell the stories of the people on the shop floor and what that actually looks like. How do we keep manufacturing growing in a big way? I need you guys to help that. If you like the show, today's going to be fun, so buckle up. It's going to be a good one. I'm looking forward to it, and we'll get to that in a quick second. Couple other things. In our laser development center, we make laser welding and laser engraving equipment. We believe that God's children are not for sale, but American-made laser welding and laser engraving equipment is. So if you're looking to add a piece of equipment to your facility and you think, why Alliance? Why? I mean, there's so many other people out there. It's true. But part of our goal is to make a difference in everything that we do. And one of those things is by ending the horrific and evil of human trafficking. And so what we're doing is we're partnering with the Tim Tebow Foundation so that every laser welding or laser engraving machine that is sold, a portion of that sale will go to the Tim Tebow Foundation to end human trafficking, just a way that we can try and give back. And speaking of giving back, we are still supporting our friend Jake Warren, little Jake Warren, Brian Warren's son. He is battling pediatric cancer. We have a new update from Brian. It says Jake just completed the last of his testing and dry run of radiation at St. Jude's today. He will start this is from March 21st. So this is a little bit old, but still good. He'll start radiation full-time Monday through Friday for 6 weeks on Monday. He also started walking this chicken around everywhere for reasons unbeknownst to us, because he's a kid, Brian, and kids like ridiculous little chicken things. So, hey, that's awesome. But everyone that saw him doing it thought it was adorable. As life wasn't hard enough, not 10 minutes back into Meridian, and we got rear-ended by a hit and run driver. After talking to the police, yep, he's getting away with it. As far as criminal consequences goes, I got a good look at him, and this town isn't that big. Brian, be good now. Your family needs you to be good. Don't do anything silly. So maybe karma catches up with them. Okay, leave it up to karma. That's not your job, right? We're all fine. Truck, not so much. No worries. We are all full. We're still fully insured. So listen, this is an amazing family. They're doing great things for manufacturing. If you can spare and help out, there is a QR code on the screen, and it's a GoFundMe for Jake and for Brian and their whole family. We would just ask that you support this family and the things that they're going through. They are a friend of the show, friend of manufacturing, and really look how adorable little Jake is. So if you have the time, if you have the resources, please, please, please go donate. All the money is going to make Jake's life a little bit easier for him to live at home, and now probably help pay for their truck so they can get around and do all those things. Tomorrow we have I'm part of a new show launching called Living the Good Life with Jennifer Yale. She was a guest a couple weeks back. It's going to be really interesting. You know, a lot of people talk about how they wish that there was a guidebook or a blueprint for life, how to live the good life. What does that look like? And so we're going to spend some time breaking that down each week. Tomorrow is the first episode, and then we're going to go on Tuesdays. It'll be the same kind of idea as this, where they are all live, so that we can talk to you about what's going on in your life and what questions you might have. But we have some thoughts on what living the good life actually looks like. And so we ask you to join us for that. That'll be a lot of fun. And last but not least, oh no, that's not the one I was looking for. This one is, my friend, my guy, the Shop Floor Coffee team. Now, I'm not a coffee drinker. I'm not going to lie to you and tell you that I am a shop floor coffee drinker, but when we were at MD&M West, everybody loved this coffee. And our guest today is I'm sure he will say the same thing. I don't like coffee, but it smelled amazing. And more than that, the ownership and the team behind Shop Floor Coffee is amazing. And a portion of their sales also go to a variety of different charities. So if you are a coffee drinker, which most people in manufacturing are, I would implore you, I would highly suggest that you check out shopfloorcoffee.com and give them a chance, because they, like other people in our industry, in our space, are trying to give back and do the right thing and support American stuff. So that's what we got going on. That's it in a nutshell. I am going to stop blathering on by myself and bring in my guy, Jim Mayer. Jim, welcome to the show, my friend.
Dude, this is awesome. You're like legit and stuff, man. That was a heck of an intro. I loved it.
It's sometimes I just feel like I'm going on forever, but there's good things to talk about, which I think is great, right?
Yeah, and I love the Make Manufacturing Fun Again show concept. I've been lucky to get a little sneak peek of episode 1. Folks, you're going to absolutely fall out of your chairs laughing at this. You're going to enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. Please support Jake. Jake needs the entire community's help. It's been a heartbreaking story to see the journey that this family's gone through. And we come together for each other. That's what this community has been all about in the 20 years I've been plus years in this industry. So donate to the Warren family. And yeah, Shop Floor Coffee is awesome. I ran away to try and find my hat real quick. It wasn't close enough, or I throw that sucker on real quick. This wasn't planned additional promo for any of this, but support all these causes, guys. I don't know about the Good Life show, but I'll check it out. And yeah, looking forward to it, man. You're doing good things.
You know what? I think it's just a matter of like getting out there and having fun and being authentic with it, right? I think So Jim Mayer, if you guys don't know, Jim Mayer is the manufacturing. I mean, that's how that goes. You just start talking and going on and on and on and on and on and on and on. The manufacturing connector. And really, I mean, that's what I've seen. I mean, I got to meet you at MD&M West. And it was like I met my best friend that I didn't know that I was missing.
Heck yeah, absolutely, man. We instantly connected. I just last night was looking at some of the the photos I took of you crawling around on the floor, talking to people while they're setting up their booths at MD&M. I knew that I had found my spirit animal at that point. That was pretty fun, man.
The only videos I haven't seen were the ones that we did for day one. Day exactly. Zero, right?
Day zero, yeah.
When we went out and we helped build that guy's booth with him and just got in his way, basically. And
hey, we built an entire panel for that guy. We really, you and I and Lisa supervising, it was great. So Rachel, if you're watching at some point, or anybody from Baker's, man, please throw us a bone with that day zero footage, because that was some of the hardest I've laughed professionally in a long time. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was. But, I think that really set the tone. Like that was a day that we weren't even supposed to be scheduled to really go out and do anything. But it really kind of set the tone with who we were and, how we were going to get along and what that was going to look like as a team.
Yeah.
And it was just ridiculous fun.
And then you, me, and Lisa for dinner.
Yeah.
I mean, you and I go into the wrong hotel because I thought I was at your Hyatt. You thought you were at my Hyatt. You were staying at a much better Hyatt. No offense to any Baker's Man or MD&M IME people listening. My Hyatt was not the same Hyatt that Tony was at. And but we had a great dinner, great time, got to know Tony and Lisa Block a little bit better. It was great.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you don't know Jim, then you're not spending a lot of time on LinkedIn, or I mean, that's just real, or you don't like podcasts, or you are not paying attention to people in the manufacturing space. Cause he's got the Manufacturing Connect YouTube page, the Manufacturing Culture podcast, Work But Make It Human podcast, and a number of different papers and articles and things that you've written. And now you have this new show, this new endeavor that you're doing, which is also pretty awesome.
Yeah.
What is that all about? Tell us all about that real quick.
Yeah, that's so just last week launched something that's been in the works for about 18 months, Tony. It's called Lead the Change Tour. And so over the first 3.5 years of starting my company, I've created a number of workshops, number of trainings. This is 2 of the trainings that I've developed over that time. One is called Becoming Management Material. It's a 3-day workshop that I'll be holding in 4 different cities across the U.S. Let's see, San Jose. Let's see if I can do this off the top of my head. San Jose, Novi, Michigan, Charlotte, and Boston. There we go. I got them right. The other 16 cities that I'll be visiting, I'll be doing a 1-day workshop. I'm not going to remember all 16 of those offhand. But that workshop's on how to lead change in your digital transformation. Tony, you and I were talking before we jumped on live here. Companies spend hundreds of thousands of dollars in software, in automation, in robotics, that top-level leadership believes is the solution to the issues that are on the shop floor, and forces it down. My whole theory behind change is that people actually love change. If people didn't like change, we wouldn't have the travel industry. We wouldn't have restaurants. We wouldn't have a fashion industry. We would all wear the same clothes. We would stay at home. We wouldn't eat anything but peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, probably. I mean, that's what I think of when I think of no change happening. But we have those industries, and we have those industries because people like to author what change looks like for them, and they want real change, not forced change. So
Yep.
This workshop takes us through that whole concept, and it teaches companies how to build an agile culture. So taking from the software world that agile and scrum methodology behind culture and applying it towards manufacturing. So it's a really in-depth workshop, one-day workshop that you take away a lot from. You get a workbook that will become your change worksheet moving forward. So real quick, want to say thank you to Akuma, GBG, and Heidenhain, L2L, Horn, and I think that's it for the sponsors that I have so far, the partners that I have so far. Always looking for other sponsors. If you haven't seen the post, reach out to me. I'll give you the cities that I'll be in, and I'm looking for sponsors, partners for each location, and I need butts and seats. So if you're in any of my cities that I'm visiting, come put a butt in a seat and learn something for a day. I've made it with these partnerships very affordable for you to be able to come in and attend these workshops. So looking forward to seeing everybody out there.
Is there a website or a way that people need to reach out to you to let you know, hey, listen, this fits what I'm looking for. I got to get my team over there. How do they register to be part of this?
Yeah, so there is a landing page on the website. It's themfgconnector.com. Then backspace lead the change tour. You can also reach directly out to me at jim.mayer@themfgconnector.com. Or find me on LinkedIn. I'm in a bathtub full of ping pong balls. And it's one of my favorite moments from IMTS 20. What year was that? 2018. But you can't miss me. Jim Mayer on LinkedIn. Best ways to grab me.
Yeah, no. And I mean, that's one of the things that I noticed about you is I think there's a lot of inauthentic people in the world, wherever that is. And I don't see you as that person at all. Like, I wanted to, like I said, I put my whole self out there, right? Like now, yeah. Like I'm very bad at dialing things back. Like 100% is like what, I mean, I'm in, right? Like now you're my friend. And now that you're my friend, you, for better or worse, it's like marriage, you get all of me now. So, buckle up.
And I've buckled up, and I gotta say, Tony, you're one of the people who has reached out to me and sent me messages on like 4 different platforms simultaneously. I don't know how that's possible, but it happened this week, and I loved it. I loved every minute of it. And I think that's why you and I clicked, man, because I worked a lot of my life wearing masks, being one person at work, one person at home, one person in different situations than I was authentically. It took me getting out of the corporate world, starting my own thing, really to be able to be comfortable with who I am. And when you and I met for the first time, I felt like I met somebody who also was very authentic in who they are, right? And I think that's what drew us to each other. And going back to that dinner with Lisa, we don't necessarily believe the same things, Tony, you and I, but we were able to ask each other questions about the things we did believe so that we then understood and respected each other, and neither one of us was wearing a mask. And so I thought, getting to know you, acting like a giant jackass with you out on the floor on day 0. I don't know. Can I swear on this show?
Sure.
Okay,
sure.
Cool. It was a lot of fun, but then having that dinner and being able to ask you questions about things that you were saying that made you who you were really endeared us to each other. So I appreciate that out of you, man.
No, I agree. And that's kind of what this is about. And that's what this show is about too, right? Like we're not going to have all the same ideas, the same beliefs, the same thoughts, the same concepts. And so, we do this show live on purpose so that if you are listening and you think like, I wish they would talk more about this. I wish they would dig in here. I wish I could hear more about that. Like put it in the conversation, put it in the chat. We are here to answer your questions and dig in more to the things that you want to know about and the things that you want to talk about. So whatever platform you're on, utilize that chat form. Put it in the chat. Let us know that you're here. If nothing else, we'll give you a shout out and name your company and name you. I mean, it's free publicity, right? Scott Peters is joining us, and he I'm guessing he's talking about how I was blathering on, because he says, Tony, you know how to do that. So I'm guessing that's what that was all about. Scott Peters, awesome guy. He is the chair of the SPE Mold Technologies division. They just gave out 4 awards at PT Expo for Mold Designer of the Year, Apprentice of the Year, Mold Repair Person of the Year. If you do have the same idea, thoughts, feelings, one of you isn't needed on the show. Amen. And listen, Jim and I have some thoughts that are the same, but some that are very, very different. So absolutely. Scotty, thank you for being with us also. Benjamin says, what are your thoughts on AI? Oh, he's jumping right in. I mean, we didn't even get to much, but what are your thoughts on AI and manufacturing, and how are you seeing it utilized today? I mean, Jim, this is one of those things that you were bringing up, and we didn't get there yet, but how we need to change manufacturing in the 21st century, and what does that look like? Yeah. You have thoughts on AI?
I do. I've been fortunate enough to have interviewed a lot of people that are way smarter than me, Tony, on my shows. And the people who are involved in AI, I ask a very similar question to all of them, and it's is AI going to take people's jobs, right? Because I think that's a valid fear that a lot of people have out there. The people that I've talked to have said some variation of the following, and that is AI isn't going to take jobs.
Yep.
The people who adopt AI technology will take jobs from people who don't. AI is just another tool in the toolbox. It's the same thing as when CNCs were introduced to shops that had nothing but manual machines, right? It's the same thing as when computers were introduced to front offices that were using typewriters and handwritten spreadsheets. It's the same thing. It's a tool. Right. The shops who adopted those technologies advanced. The shops that didn't either built a very specialized niche in the manufacturing world that said, I'm a manual shop only, or I'm so antiquated that I'm becoming a museum because I don't have a computer in here. So AI is the exact same concept in this, right? It's how do you utilize that AI? Going back to the workshop that I'm doing on leading change in digital transformation, it's are you bringing in AI just to say you're bringing AI into your shop and there's no depth, no real solution to a problem that you're actually facing? Or are you bringing something into the shop because your people have said, hey, we've got a problem, and I have seen this technology where AI can help with CAD CAM.
Sure.
And you adopt that technology, or with documentation of your drawings, or whatever it may be. I think AI is only just getting started. We're going to see an explosion of AI. I mean, you look at IMTS this last year versus IMTS 2 years ago, or soon to be 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago. The amount of software companies that were at IMTS this year, the fact that IMTS Creators Lounge was sponsored by Google Cloud, right? AWS had a booth at IMTS. That's not something that you've ever seen before. The digital transformation is happening. It's how do we lead our way through that digital transformation that's going to be so important. We can't make mandates from the top down and expect our teams to buy into them. Command and control leadership style just doesn't float in any of the 5 generations that are in the world of work right now. We have to empower our teams to really be providing the answers to the problems that we face.
Yeah, I think what's difficult is the idea of AI, like those two little letters, that artificial intelligence, right, is so vague that to be able to have a broad answer for something that's so specific to what every single person does is really, really difficult. I mean, just look at if you work in Photoshop at all, you use AI to be able to get rid of the stuff in the background. So is it going to change manufacturing? Yes. But you still need the designer to be there saying what you want this to look like, right? The ideas are not going to come from the computer. The computer and the AI is going to make those things easier for you to do, just like automation did, right? Like everybody was concerned that robots were going to take away people's jobs. The reality is that there are certain jobs that people probably shouldn't be doing, right? And there was just no other way to do it. And so robotics and automation are taking those jobs that could be deemed unsafe and teaching those people that are doing those jobs how to do better things and safer things in a more efficient way. And then let the robot be, what a robot is. I think too many times business owners and manufacturers as a whole, they used to look at people as if they were robots and expect them to work like robots. You sit down and you work 10 hours a day. You don't need a break. You don't need to go to the bathroom. You don't need food. You don't need to stretch your legs. You don't need to, stretch your eyes, if you will. Sit down and do your job. But that's not what we were made to do. I mean, that's not the nature of a human being. Now, are there some people that are really, really good at that and they're focused and they can sit and they can do the same task over and over and over and over again? But yeah, of course. But for the majority of people, we have a greater capacity than just being a cog on the wheel.
Yep. Absolutely. 100%, man. I couldn't agree more. AI, automation, robotics is going to give us the ability to truly upskill the current workforce that we have and not worry about this skills gap quite as much as we have in the past. But it's really going to bring in an increase in capacity in my standpoint and the research that I've done and the conversations that I have. And that's really when I look at the root causes of some of the issues we have in American manufacturing, it is we don't have the capacity that we once did, right? When we started offshoring these jobs and these products, we diminish the capacity that our industry has in the US. So as we talk about reshoring initiatives, I think they're wonderful. Don't get me wrong, but we don't have the capacity in the US to make everything that we now make somewhere else.
Yep. That's fair.
And so in order to do that, we need to fill jobs, but we just don't have the pipeline. So it's going to take so much longer to reshore these things than if we adopt the technology that exists out there to help us increase the capacity. It's this wild thing that, I mean, we did it to ourselves in the 70s and 80s, 90s, even 2000s here in Arizona with semiconductors. And when we did that, we created capacity issues. We created a lot of generational trauma for the people who were working on factory floors then. And we told ourselves that people didn't want to work in places that were dark, dirty, and dangerous, right? The 3Ds. And I think that, yes, that is true to an extent that, some people remember grandma or grandpa or mom and dad coming home covered head to toe in grease, missing digits on their hands, those kinds of things, or losing lives. But I think today's generations of parents, they're not scarred by dark, dirty, dangerous as much anymore. They're scarred by I remember when Dad lost his job because the plant that he worked at went to Mexico or went to China or went to XYZ. Why would I tell my kid to get into this industry that may not be around? If that makes any sense at all.
No, it makes a lot of sense. And, I think you can look at any industry and see the changes that have taken place, right? Like when you look at what the future is going to be for manufacturing or even office work, right? Like that's changed, right?
Absolutely.
Like back in the day, you would walk into an office or a restaurant and there's people smoking all over the place. There's people drinking when they're working. Like all of the things have changed, not just the manufacturing shop floor. Yeah, that's much cleaner now. The equipment is much better. It's much safer. There are higher standards for success and for safety and to make sure that people are taken care of. But people like to think that manufacturing has stayed in the dark, dingy age of what it was when the whole rest of the world has gotten better and cleaner and more efficient. That's just not the reality of what we're talking about.
Yeah, it's not at all.
Everything changed. Like you and I were talking about before, everything changes. People are afraid of change, but everything changes. And if you embrace the change a little bit, you're okay. Like we were talking about, right? Embracing that idea of a technical shift in manufacturing. Yeah. I know that's one of the things that you're passionate about. And I mean, I get it. And that's what we try and talk to people about, when it comes to like, why laser welding, right? This is a good example. Why laser welding? Well, traditional TIG welding is much more dangerous. It's much more difficult. There's many more fumes. It's a much more tricky thing to do. You have to take more time to train somebody. And when it comes to mold repair, trying to use a TIG welder, man, that takes years and years and years and years of practice to not blow out the details in a mold. So you develop this new technique of laser welding. It's the future, right? Well, now it's the current. But 15 years ago, 20 years ago, when we were starting to introduce people to laser welding, the idea is why? Well, you do that because the barrier to entry is much smaller. Yeah. It's way easier to train somebody to laser weld. It's a much safer system and process. You're not going to burn your hand off or melt your retinas by accidentally looking at the arc of a weld. These are just realities. Now, do you still need a trained person to be able to do that and do it efficiently? Absolutely. But what we've done by embracing technology is create something that's safer, faster, more efficient, cost-effective, easier to train, where you don't have to have the prima donna welder. You can train a kid out of high school to come in and be a part of something bigger and start being a manufacturer if they don't know what they want to do. And you just offer people an opportunity to grow and have a career that actually matters. It's amazing.
Look at Kenneth Bradley Cooley Jr.'s comment. He says, correct. My machine shop now has no machinists in it. I'm training up new young people who are basically lumps of clay. 3D printing gurus coming out of colleges, trade schools, and universities are basically boxes of rocks. They design and try to create things no mill or lathe can create. He's spot on. That's exactly what you were just saying, man. That is exactly it. It is this idea of you hire somebody who you can then train. They have and man, we're going to go way off on a tangent here if you're okay with that.
That's what I do. That's what I do. Let's just go. We have no schedule. Like I have notes, but we'll just throw these out the window and we'll just
fantastic. Go. I see Mike Payne's on here and he and I did something earlier this week too, where we just threw out everything that he had planned for the show and just talked. So with these young people coming out, the people who truly want to be in this industry because they want to create something, they are craftspeople. They are skilled at what they've learned. They are so moldable. And so companies need to look at the values of these young people to make sure that that lump of clay that you're looking to mold aligns with the vision, the mission, and the values of the organization. Yes. Once you have that, man, that lump of clay, I don't care if they get offered $30 more. Oh, $30 more an hour probably would get somebody to leave.
That's going to be hard.
Yeah. But let's call it $3 an hour. $3 an hour more down the street at a place that doesn't align with the values, the vision, and the mission, and didn't pour their heart and soul into training that person, they're not going. Right. If you align all of those things and you mold those young people who want to make something, they want to be able to stand back at the end of the day and say, I made this cool thing, right? Yeah. Look at this. They're taking pictures of it if they can. Some shops you can't, right? Because of like DOD regulations and stuff. But the places that can, they're proud of it. They show it. I was telling Mike the other day on his, when we recorded his show, I used to build houses, man. And I can still go back to Northwestern Colorado. Every time I go back, I take my family and I show my wife and my kids the stuff that I've made. Right. I'm like, I tore that house down to sticks and I rebuilt it by hand, right? Basically. That is cool. That's what we want. Those are the kind of people. I do want to circle back real quick before we address some of these other things.
Go ahead.
We were talking about the future and the technology that is going to make these lives easier and better. Yep. Tony, you were at IMTS. A lot of people in the comments, I either met at IMTS for the first time or saw at IMTS or know that they were there.
Yep.
Did you see the convergent manufacturing system by Oak Ridge National Labs?
I did not. I didn't have an opportunity to leave my booth very much at IMTS, but tell me about it.
Dude, this thing is the future. I mean, we all talk about what does the future look like? 5 years. I mean, that's a common question I ask on my show. What does the future of manufacturing look like? What are we going to see in the next 3 to 5 years?
Yep.
Convergent manufacturing systems are it. These are systems where they have paired an Akuma with a palletizer and a welding system and a hexagon, QMS system. And it's in one footprint, one system. You're training one person to operate all of these things. It's got to be a very bright human being to be able to do that, right? Because you're not teaching them the skill to be a machinist or the skill to be a welder. You're teaching them how to code and program multiple types of machinery to make something that is perfect. And we want to talk about creating capacity and using the people that we have and upskilling the humans that are existing within this industry. That's the way we do it. We make people run more than one type of machine in one footprint. Man, that's going to be a game changer. I highly recommend it. If you haven't, guys, seen that, reach out to me. I'll send you some photos. And Tony, I'll send you the link to Oak Ridge where they talk about the convergent manufacturing system. It's amazing, man. It's awesome.
And that is the future, right? How do you get more out of what you have, right? Yeah. How do you maximize your talent? How do you maximize your resources? How do you maximize your floor space? How do you do all those things? And so there has to be change. When people, like, the worst answer, the dumbest thing, my most hated phrase is because we've always done it that way. It makes me freaking crazy. I hate it so much because it just limits you on everything. I mean, how much sense would it make if it, like, the start of the new year is coming, right? And you're not right now, that would really date us and you'd think I was crazy. But like, say you finish your year, you finish your end of year and you're going, okay, what do we want to do next year? How do we want to grow next year? Like, if somebody raised their hand and they were like, why don't we just make as much as we did last year? It's the same that we made the year before and the same we made the year before. It's what we do. Why do we want to change and grow and be different? Let's just keep, making, the same we did in, 1978. Yep. It makes perfect sense to me. Nobody wants that, but we want to look at the same processes and the same people and the same ideas and the same concepts and go, well, it worked for us in 1978. It'll work for us truly in 2025 also.
Yep.
Sure, if you want to make the same money that you made in 1978, then do the same thing you did in 1978.
Yep.
If you want to grow your business and you want to grow your people and you want to grow your opportunities and you want to get better, well, then you got to change with the times. You got to start doing the things that are going to allow you to do those things. And I think that's a major part of what's not necessarily missing, but it's hard. I mean, it's hard to know what that next step should be. I want to read what Kenneth here has. He says, my son is a University of Illinois graduate and the director of emerging at a global company. I've been in the plastics molding company for 35 years, raised my son in the company, and he wants nothing to do with running a small private owned business or corporation. Help! Vincennes University in Indiana has a great machine tools train great machine tools, train people coming out there. Hey, business owner, get in line, baby. They aren't producing enough of them. So we just work to train up our own, right? And I have the University of Illinois 7 miles from my company. Man, again, real stuff, right? How do we do these things? How do we get people on board with what that looks like? Kenneth, why let me ask this. Why does he say, I have no interest in running your small privately owned business corporation? Like, what does that look like? How do we change the focus on that? Like, what does that look like? Maybe the entrepreneur, the business owner has changed. Maybe we've become have too much risk aversion or fear of stepping into those roles. I would love to know more about, what your son is thinking in that regard. I mean, I know why I didn't want to come into the family business, but it's probably very different than.
Let's hear yours, because I've got a hypothesis. Because I've talked to a number of people who were in line, and said no, went and did something, and ultimately have come back. But I'm interested because you're kind of that boomerang too. So tell us your story.
Yeah. So a lot of people, if you've listened to me, you've heard me say that when I was in high school, even before high school, like, my father ran the company, started the company. And so, if I had time off of school, then I came in to, cut the grass or file papers or whatever that looked like. And then in high school, I worked in the summer and I was a polisher. Sometimes I worked the night shift. Sometimes I worked the day shift. Then I was a driver. But through all those times, my father gave me the worst jobs on the shop floor. He did all the things he could do so that I wouldn't want that as my job. Like, he called it justification for higher education. He wanted me to achieve more than what he did. He wanted his son to go to college. I would be the first person in our family to go to college. And so that's what he wanted. And he got it. He said, you don't have to do good in school, but this is going to be your job. So if you don't like this, I suggest that you focus and you do what you need to do. And so, I was like, I don't like this. I don't want to do this. This is not what I envisioned for my life. And so I left and went to college and got a degree in graphic design and marketing communications. Worked for a variety of different places. My wife and I had a graphic design and marketing company for a little while. Things got really, really tough because just like everything else, it got outsourced, and it's hard to get, it's hard to get an opportunity when you are just a 1 or 2 person organization. And I came back, I talked to my father about, money and our situation. And he basically called me a jackass and told me that I was stubborn, that I not necessarily that I deserved it, but that he could pay me and I didn't want to do it, and that I was a moron. It was really, really empathetic in my brokenness. But the point hit home, and it was real. And so what I realized was, I didn't like necessarily the way that my father did it, but he built an amazing company that serves a purpose greater than just, fixing some molds or polishing some things, right? We now have 60 people in our organization and 4 different locations, and we serve the community, we serve each other, we serve our customers and our partners, and whatever that looks like. And we have amazing people that work here. And it's not about the actual job that you're doing, or your title or whatever that looks like. It's how you can make an impact on the people around you and society and the community in all of those regards. And it's a different way of doing leadership and ownership and entrepreneurship, similar to like you were mentioning before, right? Like that command and conquer strategy. That's what I grew up in. I grew up, as probably most people listening did, with, because I said so, which is right up there with because we've always done it that way.
Same.
I mean, it's basically the same words.
It is.
Because I said so, and the way that we've always done it. And so I've told my children, and I've told other people at work, like, I will never ever say because I said so.
Yeah. We
will break it down and we'll look at the why and what that looks like. That is a long message there, Kenneth. And that's like my journey into how I got into how I came home to manufacturing. So it's like the prodigal son returned.
Well, either you read that or process that. I just want to add that story is very common, Tony.
Yeah.
And it's not just from people who are offspring of owners, right? Offspring from this industry as a whole. What I've seen is the young people want to go out and they want to cut their own teeth in an area that they may not see directly correlates to this industry, right? Take you for example, your skill set, your like innate toniness comes from graphic design, from marketing, from communication. This is who Tony is, right?
Yep.
You had to go out and learn, polish, hone that skill set.
Yep.
I think the thing that we've done as an industry is as we're trying to build up this pipeline and fill the skills gap, we have focused solely on the shop floor and said, we need people in manufacturing. Come be a machinist, come be a welder, come be a tool and die maker, come be this, come be that, right? We haven't done a great enough job going into high schools, going into colleges and say, we need corporate counsel. I mean, I don't know, John Deere, Caterpillar, Raytheon, all of them have corporate counsel. Lawyers are needed in this industry too, right?
Amen. Sadly, I have to agree with you.
You've got marketing, you've got salespeople, you've got general business, you've got a litany of skill sets that are needed in this industry, but we have focused so hard on that skills that we think that we have needed because we were rather short-sighted. We didn't see the technology of the future coming. So we said we needed machinists, we need programmers. We need somebody who can code. The skill sets that are needed in this industry now are so numerous, but we've pigeonholed this industry to the skilled jobs that we're not now appealing to the people who are going out and cutting their teeth in other skills because we have said we just need these. Well, we need them all, right? So that's my 2 cents. That's my hypothesis on why we do see a lot of those boomerangs like you, because you go out into the world of graphic design, of marketing, of communications. You then say, well, your situation was a little different because you came on some tough times. Thank you to your dad for being such an empathetic dude. But a lot of people are then going out and cutting their teeth in these areas and saying, oh, wait, I can do this. I can be in marketing. I look at the Hallie Hops, the Megan's Jimbas, the Jacob Sanchez's, the Eddie Saunders, that group of people, and Wyatt, right? All of those people didn't necessarily, Jacob did, but for the most part, those aren't technical, like hands-on skilled machinists or welders or whatever. but they play such a valuable part in this community and this ecosystem that is manufacturing. So when we start talking to people, we need to say, follow your path, just bring those skills into this industry. We will take you and all that you bring into this industry as a whole.
Yep. And that's the reality, is it is made up of so many different people. I am going to read Kenneth's little story here, because I think it is cool how it kind of mirrors my life and my situation. I think it speaks to a lot of different people, which is kind of what you were saying, Jim. So, if you just joined us, Kenneth was talking about his son who, has no interest in taking over the family business, right? A company that he has run for 35 years. And we asked why. And he says, because he lived seeing what it's like to run a business. That's a difficult thing. Funding heavy equipment expenses. He did everything in this company, from sweeping the floor to running a forklift to CNC machines to managing my warehouse, all while attending high school and U of I in mechanical engineering. My son, in fact, is the youngest director of engineering in the world in their company with 7,500 employees. Dang. He simply doesn't want the stress of owning a small manufacturing company, which I will tell you is real, right? It's so different when you think like, I got to take care of my wife and kids versus I have to take care of everybody's wife and kids and make sure that there's enough money for everybody's wife and kids. And how do you make those decisions on what that looks like? Man, it's real. And it's honestly, it's not for everybody. And I think you need to know yourself. And it sounds like your son does, which is awesome that he can see that. He says he simply doesn't want the stress of owning a small manufacturing company. Quite frankly, this was my dream, not his. That is like, oh, Kenneth, if I could, round of applause, right? Like Megan was here the other day and we were talking about how parents can like unintentionally impose their dreams and wishes on their kids and crush their kids' dreams and wishes. So Kenneth, awesome for you recognizing that. He says, quite frankly, this was my dream, not his, and I didn't want to build the company for him, and he knows it. He was welcome to come and take it over, but he earns perhaps double what my salary and bonus is here, and he knows that. Well, that's hard by itself. That's hard. But there are days when I think, I wonder if I just went and got a job, if I could make more money, and would I be just as fulfilled? He said, just like family farming, it is tough. Many machine shops, and in the case of our company, which does ship globally, we are small and it's tough to buy the mills, lathes, and molding machines and large format routers and pay for them without a bank loan. We've done it debt-free. Kudos to you. That is amazing. But it's been a really hard walk. I know many just like us in this nation, and I know how hard it is. Many of my friends who have 50-member machine shops are struggling, and they have top-notch CNC 5-axis mill shops with robots. Listen, I love everything you said in that breakdown.
Yeah. And I think you found your next guest, man.
Yeah, I mean, Kenneth, I would love to sit and talk with you more about all these things. I think one of the things that I zeroed in on was that last sentence that he said, where he says, many of my friends who have 50-member machine shops are struggling, and they have top-notch CNC 5-axis mills and shops. That's a thing that honestly I've seen a lot of lately. And that brings back that idea of reshoring, and even we were talking about how to be stronger together. I was talking to at MD&M West, part of the News and Brews crew. Shout out to News and Brews. Woo woo. I had the opportunity to talk with Lori Harbour about the tariffs and everything that was going on with the tariffs, and tariffs is either a dirty word or a good word, depending on what side of the aisle you're on. And if you hate the orange man, or if you love the orange man, whatever that looks like, there's really no clear idea of what that is. I had another conversation with somebody at PT Expo last week, and they were telling me that they think the tariffs are a horrible thing. And similar to what you said before, I didn't say you said the tariffs are horrible, but similar to what you said about how, we don't necessarily have the capacity to do all the things, right? Clearly, we don't have the capacity to do all the things. But like Kenneth's point, we have a lot of shops that are dying for work. Like they're looking for the work. They want the work. They have the people, they got the talent, they got the equipment, they got the space, they got everything they need to do this except for the opportunity. And I 100% agree. If there are things that you cannot get here in the US, you can't have made here in the US, you got to go somewhere. You can't just say, well, I guess we're just not going to make this product. That's stupid. But I think you have to start at home, and you have to look at filling and at least allowing the people here an opportunity to do those things. Even if you called them and said, hey, I don't know how busy you are. I do have a quote to get this done offshore. This is how much it's going to cost. Now with the tariffs, it's going to be this price. Can you do it for close to that? I think that's a huge benefit. I mean, to Kenneth's point, you got all these people who have all these shops, all this equipment, all these people. We're trying to keep them employed. We're trying to do the right thing. We have listen, if you care about people, they're being treated better here than they are anywhere else. Yeah. And so we really, 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 I think, need to focus on some of that. Do you agree?
Well, yeah. I mean, ultimately, 100%, I agree. We need to give shops here an opportunity if we're making something here, right? I think part of the problem with a lot of the reshoring that we've seen is it's been assembly jobs, right? And that's not taking that 5-axis machine that Kenneth's talking about. It's taking labor, right? And it's not even that skill. Not to say I'm going to stick my freaking giant foot in my mouth here, but it's not as skilled of a job as machining, as welding, as some of these other things that people in the skilled trades do, right? Assembling a product that is, I did it at MD&M in the Pico booth. I assembled a USB dongle. Mm-hmm. That's how easy it is. I'm an idiot. I can build you a house out of logs. I cannot machine you shit, but I was able to assemble this part.
Yes.
So when we talk about reshoring, yeah, we're reshoring, but we're not bringing those kinds of jobs. The jobs that that Kenneth's talking about, the jobs that you're talking about, we're not bringing those jobs back because we don't have the ability to pay the people the wages that we need to truly take on some of those production run jobs, right? And if we keep going at this pace, it's just a race to the bottom, right? I would love if there was a platform out there where we could side by side have a comparison. So if there's anybody out there who, and it doesn't take much to be smarter than me, but anybody out there smarter than me who can create a software platform where you can provide sourcing overseas data with current shops with capacity in the US, not some of the platforms that we see out there. I know they exist. I'm not going to name any names on here, but they exist. But something that you could say, okay, here's this price that I got from overseas with the 25%, 20% tariff, whatever it is on top. Here's a price to me. Here's what I need made in the US. Is there somebody out there that can make it for close to that? Right? I think that's going to be the magic that we need to happen in this industry in order for those kinds of skilled jobs to come back here. We need it visualized. We as a society are very visually data-driven human beings, especially in this industry, right? Yeah. We make every decision based on data. So we need to be able to visualize that concept, that idea that, okay, sure, I may be able to get this for $631 made in Taiwan. There's a 20% tariff on that. Can you make it for $750? Right? Because then you're doing a lot of things, right? You're sustainably manufacturing, because it doesn't have to cross an ocean to get here. It doesn't have to fly to get here. Yep. It can be trucked. It can be transported. It's more localized as far as sustainability. There's so many things that we can do to justify that cost, but it can't be 631 and 22, right? And that's historically been the problem, is when we're quoting, because of the investment in 5-axis machines, because of those kinds of technologies, we haven't started paying people more. Let's be honest. Our wages aren't astronomically better now than they were 10, 15 years ago. We're investing in more technology that increases the overhead, which makes us less competitive, right? So we have to look at, okay, would we rather take 3,000 of something that we get to charge $750 for, or are we going to make 3 of something we charge $22 for? Right. Yep. We have to start doing that math. And to me, the math only maths if we have that visualized. Sorry. Another rant. I've done that a lot on your show, man.
No, listen, that's what conversation is all about. That's why, like, I never put an ending time on this stuff. Cause some people are like, you should, I had somebody one time, they're like, your show's too long. It should be like 30 minutes. Well, 30 minutes was like, hi, this is Jim.
Yeah.
I'll talk to you next week.
Thanks again, folks. I'll see you next time.
But I think they're all really, really important conversations. Right. Yeah. And if somebody can't listen all the way through at one time, I don't care. These are things that I care about and I want to talk about. Scott Peters, I just talked to him at PT Expo, and we had a conversation similar to this. And he said, I'll read his quote, and then I'll tell you the story he told me. He says, we're being forced to look at in the tariff situation, and some companies are seeing the tariff as a way to promote a raise to their bottom line instead of a way to get back to work. And I know what he means by that. He was telling me a story about how he had been getting tools from overseas in China. And when the tariffs came in, he thought he would start sourcing things, start trying to source more things here in the US and bring it home. And the companies that he talked to were adding the 35 or the 25% to their bottom line as a way to say, like, we're going to stick it to you. Now you want to come back to us and get the work done. Now that they're more expensive, well, now we're more expensive too. Well, congratulations. You just shot yourself in the foot. Like, you're a moron. I don't know what company you are, but you're a moron, right? Like, you're not thinking the long game through. So you don't have to go tit for tat with overseas. You do it for the price that you were doing it at. And then you build a relationship with that individual. You prove that you can do the job that you can do, that you say you can do, and then you do it better than they do it, and you give people a reason to stay with you and not look for something cheaper, because they appreciate the value that you're bringing, not just the cost or the affordability of it, right?
Sell on value, not on price, man.
That's it. And I just don't, some people are just, Scotty, listen, I'm sorry you had that experience. They're short-sighted, but I can tell you a bunch of companies, and you know them, that are not that way, right? Yeah. That are looking for that opportunity to get back into the space and to prove that they can do the things that they say that they can do. Kenneth chimed back in, and he says, it's tariff. My Florida machine shop has to place a 7% tariff or sales tax on a tool, an injection mold made there that we run in Florida. However, if I ship that same tool from Florida to Illinois, where my main facility is located, no tax. So tariffs exist even with the USA. Look up the history of why that tax exists, and it will make you cringe. I'm sure it will. It just goes to the railroad industry somehow. Still, we can build a tool in Florida with that 7% tax and compete with China made injection tooling. And I have a friend who is my broker for tooling made in China. It's like we make it hard on ourselves. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. It's like you're on a diet next to a cupcake factory, and you just got an ice cream machine in your shop. Bad ideas. You just gotta figure out what that looks like. Andy, Andy says, absolutely agree. The U.S. industrial sector shows remarkable resilience and innovation, especially in advanced manufacturing, energy, and tech-driven automation. With strong infrastructure investments and a focus on sustainability, America is well positioned for long-term growth. The reshoring trend and workforce upskilling further reinforce the momentum. It's exciting times ahead for the U.S. industry. Man, I love the optimism, and I totally agree with what he's saying there. What I love? I love how passionate everybody is about all of these topics. That's one of the things that I absolutely love about manufacturing as a whole is there's nobody that's like, yeah, I'm in it. It's okay. Like there's zero people that feel that way.
Zero. Everybody is all in, man, all the time.
Yeah, and they're so passionate about what they're doing, and they want to help other people out. Like I've never heard somebody in manufacturing go, I would tell you how I'm going to do that, but I'm not gonna. I could, but I'm not gonna. Like the people are just so genuine, and I mean, we talked about that before about that idea of authenticity and what that looks like, and I love the space, and I've always loved the space, and the people that are involved in it. Over and over and over again. I just want to see it succeed. And that's why I love being able to do this show and talk to different people about what's going on in the industry, and how we continue to grow and what that looks like over and over and over and over and over again. Because it's not one thing. It's a plethora of things that continue to snowball to get us to where we are today. From lack of leadership or old leadership or not being willing to embrace the future or even the present in some cases. There are so many different things that need to happen for us to continue to find success. I think one of the big ones is like we were talking about, it's leadership. And because with the proper leadership, none of these other things come up at all, right? Because you're avoiding them. So how do you see U.S. manufacturing needing to embrace new ideas in this way?
Well, we have to, man, there's so many things that leaders need to do. We need to look back into that toolbox of soft skills. And you and I were fortunate enough to sit in a VW bus in Anaheim and talk about soft skills. But that's something that I see a lot of our leaders, current and upcoming, just skill sets that they don't have, right? Because oftentimes we have promoted the best individual contributor into roles because they were the best individual contributor, right? And typically the best machinist doesn't mean that they're going to be the best leader. I was never a great salesperson, but I
find that hard to believe.
I was never the best. I was a good one.
Okay.
But I was a damn good sales leader.
Okay.
And if anybody's watching or listening and disagrees with that statement, please chime in, because that will deflate my ego probably to normal acceptable levels. Vulnerability is something that we don't show as leaders anymore. We don't have empathy as leaders, right? We talk a massive game. And this is why I have a huge problem when I walk into shops and they're like, oh, we're like a family here. I call BS, right? Because not everybody likes their family, right? Not everybody looks at family as a good thing. I look at the world of work as teams, right?
Yes.
And I know that there are some teams that say we're like a family. Fine, right? Like the 90s Bulls, they said they were like a family, but I call BS on that too, because Michael Jordan was an asshole.
He was.
Nobody really liked him on that team, right? Nobody could hold them accountable. And when you look at a family dynamic, it's really hard for a child, the youngest generation, to hold grandma and grandpa accountable for their actions.
Yep.
And that's what you're basically saying in the world of work is when you say that we're a family, that means that what I say goes. The middle management might be able to hold me accountable, but people on the shop floor cannot hold me accountable, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
if you look at it in that term, that's the structure. So we have to go back to vulnerability. We have to go back to active listening. We have to go back to empathy. We have to go back to emotional intelligence as a whole, right? So often we're so afraid to put ourselves out there and be vulnerable. And that's why I made the comment when on the post yesterday about the typo, right? This isn't June 15th or whatever it was.
March 5th. March 5th. Yeah, it was off.
But you were vulnerable. You owned that. You were accountable. It didn't matter to you that you made that mistake. You owned it. You still put it out there and you said, look, here's my mistake. Take me for all my glory. I am Tony D. And you go forward with that. Right. So that to me, that's the blueprint. The blueprint is going back to those human-centric skill sets, those soft skills that we have forgotten about for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree with you. I think it's one of those things that's difficult because it takes humility in a lot of ways to be able to do those sorts of things. And you have to be able to laugh at yourself a little bit sometimes. I think so many people take themselves way too seriously, or they think that they command more respect or attention or whatever than they deserve for whatever reason,
Yeah.
And that goes across the board. I mean, how many times can you in this week, can you give an example of somebody that maybe performed or did something in a way that is a learning lesson for empathy and understanding? I mean, it's nonstop, right?
Yeah.
It happens all the time.
I just had one because I'm reading Scott's comment. I take exception to those generalities of not having empathy.
Yeah.
My bad, Scott. Like that's a lesson right there, right? I made a generality about not having a specific soft skill. Right after he made a really smart comment about soft skills need to be taught from the ground up.
Right.
Right. So Scott, I apologize. I invite you to be a guest on my show. I'll apologize in virtual format there, and we can hear your story. Reach out to me where I said earlier. But I think you're right, man. And we need to start feeling like we can embrace failure. And I go into shops all the time, man, and I talk about failure, and shops are afraid to fail because failure likely means scrap, and scrap means thousands, if not tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands worth of lost time and material. Right.
Yep.
But we still can't look at failure. I like Scott.
Scott is a good dude. I mean, you're bigger than I am, but Scott's bigger than both of us. Like, I think if I go on your shoulders, we might be the same height as Scott.
No kidding. All right, cool. I'm looking forward to meeting him virtually, so I don't have to feel diminished physically, size-wise. We still need to embrace failure. Going back to that, right?
Yes.
If we punish failure, people get terrified and they start making more mistakes.
Yeah.
If we coach through failure, if we take that as that learning lesson, people will stay. They're not going to start looking for a job. How many times, Tony, did you work for somebody else and you messed up, and that owner, that boss, that supervisor, that manager made you feel so shitty because made a mistake that you're like, fuck this, man. I'm going to go find another job.
Yeah. It's easy. It's easy. I don't need this.
Right. So if we punish failure, if we punish mistakes, people don't learn.
Right.
They repeat the mistake. They dwell on it, and it creates turnover. Right. If we coach them through those failures, those mistakes, they learn a lesson. I promise you, they won't do it again as long as you don't make it a negative thing, right?
Right.
So,
and they might, right? They might.
Sure. Yeah. I'd spoken generalities and absolutes again. Yeah.
And if they do, well, then there's another opportunity for a conversation, and maybe something else went wrong. I have 3 examples today that happened that I'm going to share without any names. And, most of the people that work with us don't listen to this anyway, so it's fine. We had a situation today where we had to talk to a customer about a job that didn't go exactly the way that we hoped it would go. And we had a Teams call, and we were on the phone for about an hour. Teams call with this customer for about an hour. We were showing them our pictures, they were showing us their pictures. We were saying this, they were saying that. It was all the same thing, right? One person says, "Is it possible that you forgot to do this?" Well, I mean, it's possible that the sun doesn't come up tomorrow. Everything, there's a possibility in everything. I mean, is it likely? No. Is it possible? Sure. Right. And so we were going back and forth for a while, and it wasn't getting any positive results. And so I just simply said, "Hey, I have a question for you. Nobody's happy with the way that this went. We're not satisfied with that. You're not happy. This is not, we don't want this to be a negative reflection on us or who we are. This is not the kind of work that we do. We just want you to be happy with what we're doing. Want to create a longer partnership with you. What's going to make this right? How do we work together and make sure that we move forward?" And he was like, he basically said, "That's all I wanted to hear." Yeah. Right. And it squashed it. So instead of like, "We're right. No, we're right. No, we're right. No, we're right." Like, okay, we both have a problem, and the problem is shared, right? That we have a shared issue. How do we overcome this shared issue and move forward together instead of like, I need to win?
Yes.
Now, I hate losing. I'll be the first person to say I hate losing. I don't like it at all. But you don't have to win every battle, right? Yeah. Like I want to win the relationship. I want this to continue to grow. I want to prove that we can serve our customer and the people around us in a good way. And so is it harder? Yes. It's way harder to be able to look at yourself in the mirror and say, "Listen, I might have messed this up. There's a chance that I messed it." Like, I already posted that. You didn't even catch the other mistake I made with that post. I tagged somebody else to be a speaker, and then he sent me a message. It was like, "I can't speak on this tomorrow." And I was like, son of a.
I wondered why I just got tagged today to speak.
Yeah. Because yesterday I tagged the wrong person, and he sent me a message saying I can't speak tomorrow. And I was like, I didn't invite you. But apparently I did. And so I had to own that one too and be like, darn it. But it takes a little bit of humility. Like when you said, "Hey dude, that's the wrong date," I was like, "Oh, I can't change it. It won't change." And so you got 2 choices. You can scrap the whole thing, start over, or just go, "Hey, listen, that's on me. I made a mistake. Surprise, I'm not perfect." Nobody's surprised by that. And then you just go forward. We had the guy, we were cleaning our shop today because we need a little bit of work. And a couple of the guys mixed 2 chemicals that you probably shouldn't mix. And we had a little bit of a chemical reaction. Everybody's fine. Everything is good. But, it had to be a conversation like, "Hey, we just got to be a little bit more careful." Like, they were like, "I'm sorry." I was like, "Do you hear me yelling? All I'm saying is we got to be a little bit more careful." Right. Yeah. And in the process of that, somebody else talked to him a little bit differently about it, and he got upset and he just like hung up on them. And so then the conversation was, "Listen, I'm going to give you relationship advice, not just work advice. When you hang up on somebody, all you're telling them is, I don't care what you have to say. Yeah. Like, you're not valuable." Yep. So, you don't have to agree with everything that they're saying, but you have to listen, and you can control how you respond to that. And however you respond to that is going to set the tone for the next interaction that you have with that person. And you're going to have more interactions with that person.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so to Scott's point before, that soft skills are taught from the ground up. Those are the things that we have to do a better job at. And we have to do it through through leadership and through actually living them, right? Like, I now can't go back on all the suggestions that I gave and live in a totally different way than what I just talked to them about, right?
Exactly. You have to live the same thing that you're teaching people, right? You have to walk that talk.
Yeah. It's so funny because, it's inevitable that everybody sees everybody else's flaws and faults. And that's just biblical. I know that's not your thing, but I know you also respect it. But it's an age old idea, right? Like, it's way easier for me to see the things that you do wrong, Jim, than the things that I need to look at myself in the mirror and admit that I did wrong.
Right.
I mean, how many times as a leader or as a manager or whatever, does somebody come to you and say, so and so did X, Y, and Z. What are you going to do about it? They're like, well, I'll talk to him about it. Well, and then what? Well, okay, hold on, because it wasn't that long ago that person C told me that you did something, and I just had a conversation with you. So why should I treat that any differently, right? Yep. But everybody wants punishment and judgment for the people that they feel did something wrong. But we forget very quickly that we're in that same boat.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And we have to, and this is where that empathy conversation comes into play, right? And this goes for people on the shop floor. This goes for leaders, right? If you go to a Tony and say, hey, Tony, Ann over there really messed up. And Tony says, oh, I'll go talk to her. Before you have that conversation, think to yourself, how would I want Tony to handle that situation if I was the one who made that mistake? Mm-hmm. 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 How would I want Tony to talk to me?
Right.
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 And also ask yourself, can I hold that person accountable? Instead of going to Tony. If you've truly built that culture, right, internally that you want to have of accountability,
yep.
If that's your culture, right, then your people should be able to hold each other accountable.
Yep.
And not go to management. Management doesn't have time to be dealing with that kind of shit day in and day out.
Yep.
And so I think that's a big part. That's coming in next year's workshop series is going to be one on followership. I talk a lot about leadership, but Fab Tech last year, I was, no, I'll read your comment in a second, Chris. I was tasked, a guy came up to me and said, hey, I love what you do when you talk about leadership, but do you have anything on followership? And so I thought on it, man. I thought long and hard, and I sat down and I created a workshop, and I went out to his shop and did a workshop for him on followership. Worked really well.
Yeah.
I've got to do it a couple more times before I feel confident taking it on the road. But followership is just important as leadership in any shop setting.
Now, when you say followership, what does that look like? Because I have an idea in my brain, but I want to understand exactly what you're talking about so that I can process properly.
So the same principles of leadership, but when you, as an employee, right, as a follower, right, you can be a leader on the shop floor. You don't need a title to be a leader, right?
Yep.
But everybody also at the same time, even if they are a titled leader, they're also following at some point. You've got to allow other people to lead. And so that's what that concept is how do you allow other people to lead? How do you make space for others to lead around you? Right. And yes, Scott, great book. And very similar concept, right? But this idea that if we create space for people to be leaders, we don't always have to be leaders ourselves.
Yes.
So Tony, you don't have to always feel like you have the reins, right?
Mm-hmm.
You are creating a culture of leadership and followership within your organization so that when a ball is dropped, somebody else can step up and hold the rest of the team accountable as a leader without a title, right?
Sure.
That's the idea behind it.
No, I love that. I love that. I like what you said before. Because I agree with you that I try to look at business like a sports team all the time in every capacity, whether that's hiring, whether that's, firing, making changes, whatever that looks like. And this idea of followership is no different, right? Like,
Right.
I explained to some of the guys in our shop one time, I said, sometimes you need to have a players only meeting. Sometimes the captains need to step up and say, guys, we're better than this. What are we doing? Right.
Yep.
Sometimes the coach is just getting in the way of a conversation. And sometimes you're just waiting for that captain to step into the role. Everybody wants to be the man until it's time for them to be the man.
Yep.
Everybody wants to lead when everything is going really, really well. But when it comes to an awkward conversation or a difficult conversation or something that you need to say, I don't want this person to get mad at me. I don't want to upset so-and-so. Well, okay, first of all, they might need to get mad. Second of all, it's about how you say the thing that you need to say that's going to get the response that you want, right? Like, I don't want to go around and just pissing people's cornflakes either. I don't, but sometimes you have to say the things, but it's how do you say the things, right? And I think a lot of times it has a lot more value coming from a peer than it does from a manager or an owner or a titled person.
Yep.
And it lasts a lot longer because now we're all in this together and we're pulling the reins together. And so I would encourage people, like, just because you don't have a title doesn't mean you're not a leader. Everybody is a leader or can be a leader in some regard. They can step into that role and lead by example, lead through encouragement, lead through any number of things. Even if you see something that goes wrong and you know somebody's going to get in trouble, I mean, you can lead by just going alongside them and go, hey, listen, it's going to be okay. Listen, that sucks. Whatever happens, that sucks. But you can lead and be a person for other people in any of those situations. And so I think all those things do need to be taught because they're not inherently in us. No. We're way too selfish in our time and our effort and our resources. And, we don't want to get in trouble either.
Right.
And so, going all the way back to, Kenneth's point about his son not wanting to take over that business, there's so much more responsibility and things that go into all of those types of things in regards to leadership. But it's necessary. One of the things that Jen Yale and I are going to talk about in this Living the Good Life show is just that idea. Like, whatever area of life that you're working in, for me, I believe very strongly that I don't have a platform to create better machines or better products, but to help create better people. And what does that look like? How do we train people up to be better people and members of society and more? Because if we can do that, then everything's going to get better. Like, all of it is going to get better.
Absolutely. Well, and that's Tony, before you and I even met, that's one of the things that I admired. I mean, we had exchanged maybe a couple of comments on LinkedIn before MD&M, right? But neither one of us ever really stepped out and said, hey, I'm Jim, or hey, I'm Tony, right?
Right.
But
right.
I knew who you were. One of the things I admired most about you is your presence at trade shows and events. And the way, and I told you this at MD&M, I believe after a couple of cocktails, it finally came out. But your bikes that you did at IMTS, the way that you approach trade shows as not just a way to sell Alliance, right? It's a way for you to also give back to the community where that trade show is, whatever that community is. It could be Chicago, it could be Orlando, it could be wherever that trade show is that you're doing something. You find a cause and you support that cause. You have your trade show booth attendees support the cause. So they walk away with a sense of accomplishment, a sense of good, and you're helping people's lives out there. So kudos to you, man.
No, I appreciate
that. I wish we had more people think like that about those kinds of events. I wish we had more. I'm doing a series of team building events with an organization here in Arizona. We did one a couple weeks ago, and I asked them what they wanted to do next, and the employees said, "Let's do something for a charity." And so that's what our next team building event is. I'm scouring the web to find the most cost-effective, best way that we can partner with their local community to provide the things that that community needs. Right. And I think that that's what people want in this industry. They do want to come and create something special. They do want to come and create something cool, but they also want to give back to the community. They want they want that sense of doing something for the greater good. And that's not just Gen Zs or millennials that we've been told for the last 10 years that millennials want, that's why they're disengaged with the command and control style of leadership, because they want to do something for the greater good. Everybody wants to. I don't care what generation you're a part of. You want to help people. That is an inherent human trait.
Sure.
And so we need to start utilizing that as a way to build our teams, build our leaders, build our followers. And so you do that very, very well, Tony. And I just think that the world needs to hear from somebody else other than you about these things, and that this is really fucking cool. And I applaud you.
I appreciate that. It's a fun thing to do too, right? Like, I've been to a lot of networking events. It's part of what I get to do. I've been to a lot of networking events, but a lot of them have been really fun. Right. And a lot of people have had a good time. There's a lot of good stories. But what I'll tell you is I've never seen people have as much joy. And I use the word joy on purpose instead of happiness. I've never seen people have as much joy, whether it was building a bike or going to feed my starving children or the U.S. hunger event at NPE or whatever that looks like. Right. There's a different conversation that you can have with people when you are doing something good, right? It makes you feel better. It gives you this sense of accomplishment isn't even the right word, but it creates a deeper relationship with people when you're doing that versus just having a beer. Now you can go have a beer afterwards. I mean, that's fine. I'm not opposed to that. I mean, we did. It's great, but it creates a bond when you're actually doing good with people. And so I mean, we found it very beneficial this last week at PT Expo. We collected, I got 4 bins of school supplies, notebooks, calculators, rulers, some food that we're going to distribute to a couple of different abuse centers or children's centers, and maybe even hold on to some for school supplies for next year for kids in need. But I think that I would love to see that. How awesome would that be if you go to a trade show, IMTS in a couple of years, or fill in the blank on whatever that next thing is going to be, and you've got 10 out of 200 trade show booths that are saying, "Hey, we want to give back to the community in this way. Will you partner with us in this?"
Yep.
And it doesn't take a lot of effort. It just takes a phone call. And what I found is there was one guy at IMTS that I wanted to hit him. I mean, it goes against everything you just said to me. But here, I was walking out at IMTS, and I'm carrying 3 of these tiny little bikes for kids because there was a church that came by to pick them up, and I'm carrying these bikes out because they're already built, so you can't roll them.
Right.
And so I'm like walking through, and this guy at a booth along the way, he stops me and he goes, "Oh, what's the deal with the bikes?" And so I stopped, and I'm holding the bikes, and I'm struggling and sweating because it's like my 3rd trip. And he said, what's going on with the bikes? And I said, wow, it's a pretty cool thing. We worked with Guardian Bikes. They supplied us some bikes at a really good price so that we can build them in our booth so that we can give them to kids in need. It's a lot of fun to do. And he goes, who makes the bearings in those bikes? I was like, I have no idea who makes the bearings in this bike. I'm just telling you what we're doing. He's like, you think I could get a contact for those bikes so I could find out who makes the bearings? I was like, I gotta go. Like, it was the first time that I wanted
That's
to hit
funny.
Yeah,
that's funny.
But that's the typical, right? Like, I'm here for me. How can I get more sales? This is what I want to do. Yada yada yada. But what if we had a small portion of people that looked at that trade show as an opportunity to do something more, to make an impact that's bigger than themselves, bigger than their community, bigger than whatever it looks like. And then, like, you need another reason. How good does it look for manufacturing or for plastics or for mold making or whatever that looks like, if it can get some traction, and then you get an actual national news presence that comes in and says, hey, this trade show was going on, this additive trade show, fill in the blank on whatever you want it to be, came into our town. And what did they do? They fed 20,000 people in our area. I mean, that's an awesome story.
So I'm going to make a challenge an hour and 35 minutes into Tony's show.
Love it.
If you run a trade show, or if you know of somebody who runs a trade show, reach out to me. I want a pavilion within your trade show.
Okay.
That I can make into an area where we can do good for the local community.
Love it.
I will run it. I will find the charities. I will find the people to staff it. We can also have companies like Tony's, companies like whoever out there. These can be regular trade show booths. Pardon about my dogs, guys.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's real life, right?
That's it.
But I will run the charitable side of this, because I do want this to happen. I think that this is something. So that's my challenge. If anybody knows somebody who runs a trade show, has a trade show, I don't care how big, how small, I will do that. I just need a pavilion. I need the space where I can get people to have booths that believe in providing good for other people as part of their mission. Let's make it happen.
One of the best things was NPE. You're familiar with NPE.
Yeah.
You have to go to Orlando to draw your space for NPE, which at the time I thought was ridiculous. You walk in, and I don't know if you've ever had the privilege of doing this, but it's like the NFL draft. So you walk into this auditorium, and they have a stage up front where people are going up making their booth selections, and there are giant monitors that show what's still on the board and what that looks like. And people are studying the board and trying to figure out exactly where they want their booth to be. Wow. It is the closest thing that I've ever been to a general manager on a sports team. And I walked in, I was like, this is crazy. And people are like, well, what booth are you going to get? What booth do you like? I don't know. I don't know what's going to be left. I got like 4 hours till it's like time for me to, I'm not even looking at this, but people were like studying it the night before. It's a really, really big deal. And I thought, well, as long as I'm in the building, that's fine. Right. And so I went through, I picked the booth, we did all the things, and then they announce it. You go up to the podium, and they're like, with, pick number, blah, 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 blah. Tony from Alliance Specialties and Alliance Laser Sales picks number booth, blah, 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 blah. It has this much square footage. Congratulations to Tony. And I'm like, yeah, congratulations. You charged me money. Yay, I win. And so, That night they had a networking reception, and I talked to Whitney Tavares. I don't know if you know Whitney. Whitney is awesome.
Okay.
She's with Plastics, and I saw her and I said, I got this idea. I don't know you yet. And we were talking for a little bit beforehand. And I said, I have this crazy idea that I want to run by you. And I want to see if you'll help me with it. And so I told her about our idea behind E210 and what that looks like and how we try to do something good for the community or whatever that looks like at every trade show we go to. And we had a long conversation. She was like, I love this idea. Send me more information. I was like, all right, this is good, right? This is good. I have an in. And so we went back, and Vanessa and I, my person that helps with marketing, and she's great. We went and we found some organizations that do food packaging on location. And we ended up working with this organization called US Hunger, where Jim, if you're looking for somebody, they are amazing.
Okay.
They bring out tables and food and bins and packages, and they help you do all the stuff. You just have to pay for the food. Which is amazing. It's so amazing. And so we found this organization. We worked with the team at Plastics. We agreed that they would give us a location within the conference. It was not on the trade show floor because, you got to have some protection for the food and things like that. But they helped promote it. It was a fantastic thing. And this was like, is this going to work? Kind of. Yeah. I mean, this is the beta. This is the let's give it a shot kind of thing. And we finished packaging. I think it was around 30,000 meals for people in Orlando, 2 hours earlier than we thought we were going to be. Jacob Sanchez came and covered some of that when he was part of the NPE team, and it was amazing. And everybody had a fantastic time.
That's awesome.
And now it's growing to the point where they're like, okay, how can we expand this for next year? Right? Like, how many sponsors do we need to be able to buy more food? How long should we keep this going? My brain originally was like, I want to do it all week. Like, I want this to be a week-long thing where if people have 2 hours in their day, they can go down and package some food for a day or for a couple hours or whatever. And they were like, wait, Tony, listen, we've never done anything like this before. I think 5 days is a little much. How about 4 hours? I was like, cool, let's do 4 hours. That's great. I'll take whatever I can get. Let's do proof of concept for what this is and find out how to make it a thing that has some legs and some longevity. And my point in saying all that is most people want to do those things. You and I had the privilege of working with Informal Markets, right?
Yep.
Informa. Let's do something, right? You got the News and Brews people. Let's do something, right? We want to do it. We want to do these things. Most people want to come down. They want an hour out of their day in their booth to go down there and do whatever this is, or the attendees, or whatever that looks like. There's an opportunity in all the stuff that we're doing to be able to make a difference. Yeah. And that's what we all want to do. And so it takes what you said. It takes somebody that's willing to go, listen, I'll lead the charge. That's easy. I'll make a phone call. How hard is that? I mean, that's.
Did I walk around with a microphone and a camera for a couple of days? Sounds like a piece of cake to me, man.
I mean, I think you and I could just do this across the country. It'd be fantastic. Yes. Now,
it'd be a blast.
That means I got to work on my people skill, my soft skills, and teach other people how to do the rest of my job so I can go out and do this. That would be fantastic. Maybe we should get super suits and stuff too. That'd be fun.
I think we could get Lisa Block on board with that too. I think that the three of us bring back the band, get the band back together. That would be pretty great. Before we jump topics or whatever's next, while we're on that topic of helping others in this world, and I don't know how many people are still on here, man. But if you haven't met Abby McKiernan from HelpLink,
I think I did talk to her. Okay. But I haven't had a conversation yet. I think it was some Facebook or some LinkedIn back and forth.
Have her on the show, man. She's wonderful. And what her mission is, what her platform does, is absolutely phenomenal because it takes that idea of corporate giving, and it gives to the people in your company or in your local community first, and then it goes outside of that.
I love that.
So a company can even say, hey, we're going to pledge $500 a month, and then for every dollar that employees donate of their own, up to $5 each, we will match.
Sure.
And that money then goes into a pool, and you can put it there. And so people within a company or within the local community, people who can't get to work, who can't pay their cell phone bills, who can't pay the sociology behind it is people don't go to or don't not go to work because they don't want to. People don't go to work because they can't, because something happened. And so she's created this platform that gives back. Abby, if you're listening, I hope Tony brings you on. She's got a great platform, Tony. Sorry, that's the last time I'll interrupt you.
No, it's not. Don't lie. That's fine. It's
fine. Today in this conversation.
But that's what friends do.
Mm-hmm.
They interrupt each other and talk over each other, and it's so much fun when it happens.
Absolutely.
Hey, I'm gonna try something. We got 5 questions. You want to play 5 questions?
Let's do it.
All right. Let's see. I do have theme music. Let's see if the theme music is gonna work. Hold on. No, that means you win. We'll see if you win. There we go. It's a little bit loud. There we go. But it's happy, right? So
it is happy.
And I like happy. So let's see. Question number 1. What Olympic sport do you feel that you could have been a contender for?
Do you want the smart ass answer or the real answer?
I want whatever answer you want to give.
Tony, I used to be a really good swimmer.
Okay.
I know by looking at me, a lot of people don't think that initially off the bat. But I swam distance in high school.
Right.
So I swam the 500 freestyle and mile, as well as the 400 IM. If the longer it was, the better for me, because that just meant that other people weren't competing against me because other people are lazy. So if I had stuck with it, I was on a trajectory that I probably could have made an Olympic team at one point. So that's the real answer.
Why did you stop swimming?
Culture.
Bad
leadership, bad coaching, and burnout.
I thought you meant culture, like the Speedos weren't catching on.
No, man, I dealt with all of that like a champ. I just actually was talking with my dad about that last weekend, about how brutal the wrestling dudes were to all of us swimmers. But that's neither here nor there anymore.
You know what's crazy as hell? My dad told me that he grew up, obviously a while ago. He's still alive. They had naked swimming in high school. They didn't have suits.
Drag. That's drag, man.
That's
creating so much drag.
Just gym class, you just jump in the water naked. Like, could you imagine your kids coming home and being like, "Hey, we had swimming today. How was it?" Well, we were naked. Not okay.
That's hilarious. I just hit my head on my microphone. I was laughing so hard. Oh my God.
Not okay. All right. Question number 2. What is the weirdest gift that you've ever received?
Swing line red stapler.
Oh, is that from Office Space?
Yeah. So when I first started my company, the first company that I assessed for their company culture and engagement, they started calling me the Bobs.
Okay.
Because the movie Office Space. Well, I then started doing these workshops, and the first workshop I did in Phoenix, I showed a clip from Office Space.
Okay.
And the person who called me the Bobs at that first client was in that. And so when I showed Office Space, it just clicked. The next day, they brought me a stapler.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right. Question number 3. Can you fold a fitted sheet all by yourself?
Nope, not even close. And my wife will attest to that. I before I got married, I apparently folded towels wrong. I didn't know there was like a way to fold towels that was the right way. But fitted sheets are definitely not something that I can do on my own.
I think it's witchcraft.
Oh, it's I'd agree with that statement. Witchcraft, I'm going to go with that.
My wife is not a witch. I love my wife greatly. I'm assuming that your wife is not a witch.
No.
But there's not even corners.
No.
But
she makes corners somehow.
I know. It's amazing.
She looks like she has mittens on and there are corners all of a sudden. And I try and do it. I end up getting tangled up and it's ugly.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
So for all those people that say women can do everything that men can do and men can do everything women can do, false. We can't fold fitted sheets. It's just not possible.
I love that.
All right. Which Sesame Street character would you get along with most and why?
Oh, that's a good question. Man, Elmo.
Elmo?
Yeah.
Okay.
Elmo. Because that little red dude cusses like a motherfucker when the cameras are off. He is just like camera off and he's just like cussing as he's driving home. I think Elmo and I would get along great.
I think that's a good answer. I think, sometimes I think Grover.
Because I was thinking Grover too. Yeah.
I think Grover's a lot like my son, where he's a little bit ridiculous. And sometimes he pretends. I think Grover sometimes is obnoxious on purpose.
Yes.
Like the whole near and far thing. And there's a bug in the soup. Like I think Grover, like he's not stupid.
He's not.
He just chooses to be a ball buster and obnoxious, and nobody expects more from him. They're like, it's Grover. I mean,
he's purposely keeping the bar low.
Yeah. I like Grover.
Yeah.
All right. Would you rather, this goes back to leadership now. Would you rather ask a question that someone doesn't want to answer or give an answer that they don't want to hear?
Give an answer they don't want to hear.
Okay.
All day long.
That was quick.
Yeah. I am slightly sociopathic, Tony.
Oh, all right.
And I enjoy the difficult conversations.
Okay.
I enjoy those moments that a lot of leaders don't like. Not because I enjoy making people uncomfortable, but I love the challenge of finding the most empathetic route to having a difficult conversation. So
sure.
How do I have this conversation in a way that is not going to harm them psychologically is the way that so I would always rather give that answer or have that conversation on that side than ask a question someone does want to answer.
I love it. That's the best way I've heard that answered. And that is 5 questions with Jim Mayo. I'll give you the win too. Yes. I like the ridiculous questions.
Yeah, that was cool. I've learned so much from you today. I'm not going to co-opt any of it, but I've learned so much.
I don't know if that's true, but I appreciate you saying it.
Oh man, this has been great. I purposely don't do this shit live, man.
Really?
Oh yeah, I am horrible when I'm the one in your seat doing this live. So I give my kudos to you 100% because to me, I have to edit myself. Like when I edit my shows, it's mainly me I'm editing. Because I'm a knucklehead and I am not a smart human being when it comes to a lot of things. And so I'll sit there as I'm trying to formulate questions and I do, and so I have to edit all of that stuff out.
Sure.
You just see the like polished question, the edited version is what I put out there. So I couldn't do this live. No way.
Now, my problem with that is I hate rewatching myself over and over again and hearing myself. Like anybody that's done these kind of things over and over again, here's the reality I came to. If I sound like this for real, why does anybody talk to me?
Yeah. Yes.
Because I wouldn't want to be my friend listening to me the way that I sound.
Yes.
So it's really hard for me to sit and do the editing of parts. We used to do that. And then the other thought that I had is like, I like to have real conversations with people.
Yeah.
And real conversations are live and they are give and take, and they're on the flow, and you filled out this awesome stuff for me, and I appreciate that. And it's just to get an idea of, where do we want the conversation to go? And then the beauty is you have people like Scott and Kenneth and our friend Greg Christensen and everybody else that jumps into the conversation, and they add their own 2 cents, and together we get to grow and learn and get better in all the areas that we need to. And it's not an echo chamber, right? It goes back to those things that we were talking about, and coming together so that we can all grow and get better together in all the things that we're doing. I would have never had some of the thoughts that Kenneth had, or whatever that looks like. And so I just love that opportunity to be able to do those things. So we always end our show with a prayer. I know that's not necessarily yours is good, but do you have any prayer requests, anything that you would like us to pray for? And if you are still listening, there's like a couple people, maybe if you have anything, go ahead and put that in the chat, and then we'll wrap some stuff up.
Well, let's definitely do include Jake in there, Jake Warren.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, that kid's fighting every day. I mean, and for his parents and the community as a whole, the family, that whole thing is just it's tough to have witnessed on the background, right? Do what I can when I can as far as donations are concerned. But man, that little boy, he's fought for a long time, and he keeps going. So that would be the one that would jump forefront in my mind.
Now, I think that's a great thing. I mean, not a great thing, but it's great that like the community is rallying around Brian and Jake together. And you can say Brian's name and people know who you're talking about now. And that's a really cool thing. I think it's great that he, it goes back to that idea of authenticity. We can like this whole conversation keeps going full circle, right? And that's what it's supposed to. As a leader of an organization or of his family, he's being vulnerable and telling people what's going on in his life. Like too many times we want to pretend that everything in our lives is perfect, and we don't have any worries and we don't have any issues. And it's not the reality. We're all going through the stuff, right? I talk with, the kids or even people here, and I go, listen, either you're going through it, you just came out of it, or you're getting ready to go into it. But it's one of those three, and we all have it. And how do we deal with those things, and how do we be there for each other and for other people when we are going through those things? Those are the things that really truly matter. So before we pray, if you want to get a hold of Jim Mayer, it's jim.mayer@themfgconnector.com. Or he is all over LinkedIn, and he is very fast to respond. And just overall good dude.
Thanks, man. And I think even my phone number's on my LinkedIn profile. Probably not smart of me, but call me.
I've done that, and I just don't care. Like,
call me. I have no secrets. Come talk to me.
At MD&M West the year before, Chris Lukey was interviewing me, and we were wrapping up, and he was like, how do people get a hold of you? I was like, call me. And I just gave my cell phone number. I was like 847-650-3282. Just call me. And he was like, did you just dox yourself? I'm like, I think I did, but what am I here for? I'm here to get people to call me and do work with them. Awesome. So I love it. So call me. Like that's what I'm trying to do. So if you are, if you're looking for some leadership, if you're looking for another perspective on what manufacturing is, if you're looking for someone to help guide your team, that's not you, because let's face it, sometimes they don't want to listen to you because they're tired of listening to you. Turn them on to Jim. Go visit themanufacturingconnector.com, mfgconnector.com, and find out how you can get involved with all of the tour across the country, the leadership tour across the country, and help grow your team and grow yourself and your organization. Because if we all grow together, then we're going to get better. That's just,
rising tide lifts all ships.
Yeah, man. Craig Rochelle says something similar to that. When the leader gets better, when the leader gets better, everyone benefits, or something along those lines.
Yeah.
And it's totally true. It's just the idea of who is the leader in our lives. So I am going to take this off because, they've seen your name enough. the two people left with us, and then I'm gonna pray real quick, and then I'm gonna let you go. That's okay with you?
Yeah, absolutely, man.
All right. Heavenly Father, thank you for today. Thank you for my friend Jim. Thank you for the opportunity to meet him, and for his passion and for his authenticity and for the way that he has helped grow me in my life and so many other people. And I just pray that you would bless this time, and you would use it for the people that listen at some point, that you would make it an opportunity for them to learn and laugh and maybe just have a little bit of extra joy in their life. Thank you for the opportunity to serve others. And I just pray that you would have these organizers of trade shows reach out to Jim or myself and find ways that we can do what you call us to do. And that is to be your hands and feet and serve others and love others in big, big ways. And so we just pray for an American renaissance to finding you and doing the things that you call us to do each and every day. We pray for those people that are dealing with cancer or illness or disease or sickness, and hurt and pain and financial issues and whatever worries or things that they're going for, that they wouldn't run from you, but they would run to you and know that they're not alone and that they are loved and that they have comfort in people that are all around them. And I just say thank you, and we love you. And it's in Jesus' name we pray. Jim, I appreciate you, my man.
Thank you, man.
This
was so much fun.
I'm so glad that we got to connect at MD&M West. There was a time where I was like, I don't know, is this really what I want to do? I asked some people, like, is it worth it? Should I go do this thing? And I got some mixed feedback, and I'm so glad that I did, because I was honestly so blessed by the people that I got to meet and work with, from our co-host staff to Baker's Man Productions, from the Informa staff, and then even the people we got to interview and talk to. I think it's one of those things where it is what you make it to be, right? Mm-hmm. You can sit there and go, we did more than we should have. Well, good. Shouldn't you do more than you're asked? I mean, isn't that the reality? You want to do less than you were asked? Shut up. And so I just feel really blessed for the opportunity to get to know you and everybody that we did. So thank you for being who you are and for your authenticity and your realness and your passion for not just manufacturing, but for people as a whole and for making everybody better. I'm gonna be romantic and say you make me better.
Oh, thanks.
I'm better because I know you.
Feeling is absolutely 100% mutual. Glad to have you in the community, and looking forward to doing more with you, man. This is a lot of fun.
Yeah, it'll be great. So I'm going to let you go, and then let's stay in touch and figure out what those next steps look like. I want to get some information about the tour across the country so we can help promote that for you and get it out there and, do whatever we can. So
appreciate it, buddy.
Let's chat soon.
All right. Thanks.
Bye now. Buddy. Bye. All right, everybody. That is Jim Mayer, the manufacturing connector. I honestly love that guy. We met at MD&M West, and it was like bromance from the beginning. We were able to just go and hang out and laugh. Like there were 5 minutes that we knew each other and we're like, all right, let's go do stuff. Let's go tear it up. Let's go help people set up booths. Let's just go have some fun. Let's be crazy and adventurous together. And it was. So my encouragement to that would be like, take risks, right? If you don't know what it's going to be, then just do it and see what it's going to be and make the most of it, because you don't know if you don't try. And that's it in a nutshell. You don't know if you don't try. So, I appreciate everybody for watching and listening. If you would like to be part of the show at some point, we would love to have you on the show at some point. All you have to do is send us an email, Tony@AllianceLaserSales.com, and we will definitely love to tell your story and everything that it is that makes you unique in the business. If you think you don't have a story to tell, you're wrong. Everybody has a story to tell. Everybody has a purpose in this thing called life. Let us tell your story. Let's connect and tell the world why what you do matters and what we do matters together. On behalf of myself and Alliance and Jim and the Manufacturing Connector, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Take care and God bless.